8 people have been confirmed dead and at least 72 people are missing after terrifying flash floods devastated a town in the Australian state of Queensland. Witnesses say the floods smashed through Toowoomba like a tsunami.
On the 10th of January 2011, Toowoomba and Western Brisbane were hit with some of the worst flooding we've seen in the past 10 years. Queensland has their dry and storm seasons. The storm season is usually around spring and summer, and its dry season is in autumn and winter. This flood took place well into Queensland's storm season, with many months of rain leading into the new year. There was barely any rain during Queensland's 2010 dry season, which led to the massive amount of rainfall, which led to what we now know as the Queensland floods.
Police are warning Toowoomba residents to stay indoors, but they are telling people living near the Lockyer Creek around Gatton or downstream to evacuate immediately. People have already been rescued from the roofs of their homes as the water surge inundates everything in its path.
This whole flood cost the ICA $2.38 billion. $1.51 billion was of individual claims alone. The Queensland State Government, Toowoomba Council and Australian Federal Government all contributed about $1 to $3 billion for the recovery. Over 9,000 kilometres of road was destroyed and 28% of Queensland's rail network was destroyed. All up, the damage cost the Australian economy altogether at least $10 billion. As the flood raged on, it was aided by going through the Fitzroy, Burnett, Cadamon and Mary rivers. It was also aided by the land formations of Toowoomba and the Lockyer Valley. Almost all flora was destroyed, either extremely saturated or relocated.
Preparing to undertake a full search and rescue of the entire Lockyer Valley creek and river system to determine whether or not there are other casualties of what has been a very, very tragic event.
Well, unfortunately, it's still raining in the city of Toowoomba and our surrounding region. We're a large regional area here, and people are downstream, particularly, are now suffering flooding. That major event.
Before the flooding, there were many flood warnings over the New Year's Eve period by the Queensland State Government to the people of southeast Queensland, after masses of rain over the past few months prior to the floodings. Many residents fled their homes, but the some that stayed faced massive dangers. For the people who didn't escape were handed out sandbags to help keep the water out of their homes. They were given out before and in the early stages of the flooding. After the flooding, there were more than 55,000 people who were registered throughout Australia, volunteered to help clean up the streets of Western Brisbane and Toowoomba. Thousands more unregistered volunteers to help clean up and mop the muddy streets in gumboots and farmers' mud gear. Major General Michael Slater was appointed head of a civilian recovery task from the Australian Army. Slater and his team was accompanied by the Queensland Reconstruction Authority. This deployment by the Australian Army was also the largest for the natural disaster since Cyclone Tracy back in the 1970s. New Zealand also sent their own Defence Force soldiers, police and a Red Cross team to aid Australian authorities.